Martin Durham was a man with a bright future, known for his charm, warmth, and ambition. At just 34 years old, he had a life ahead of him filled with potential. He was loved by his family, admired by friends, and respected by his colleagues. His sudden death, however, would leave everyone who knew him reeling in shock, struggling to understand how a life that was just beginning to unfold could end so abruptly and mysteriously. This is the story of Martin Durham, a man whose death still remains shrouded in uncertainty. Martin Durham's early life. Martin was the kind of person who effortlessly captured the attention of everyone around him. From a young age, he exhibited a magnetic personality that drew people in. He had big dreams, and it seemed like nothing could stand in his way. Whether it was his hard work at his job or his love for his family, Martin was a model of dedication and optimism. His childhood was a reflection of his later life, filled with love, laughter, and ambition. His parents, especially his father, played a major role in shaping his strong values and the work ethic. They supported him through every phase of his life, from school to the early stages of his career. As Martin entered adulthood, his career blossomed. He was recognized for his talents, and many considered him to be someone destined for great success. He had friends, colleagues, and acquaintances who looked up to him. But despite his outward success, there were whispers in his life that not everything was as perfect as it seemed. The changes in Martin's life. In the months leading up to his tragic death, something seemed to change within Martin. He became more withdrawn, distant from the people closest to him. Friends and family began to notice a shift in his behavior. He was no longer the man they had known, the outgoing, friendly, and approachable person who lit up every room. Instead, he seemed consumed by a sense of worry, tension, and unease. Family members were concerned, but Martin didn't want to talk about it. He dismissed their questions, insisting that everything was fine, even as his behavior became more erratic. He was still working hard, still maintaining his professional relationships, but there was a dark cloud hanging over him that no one could fully understand. There were whispers about a woman in his life, a person he had recently become involved with. It seemed like their relationship was complicated and fraught with tension. Martin's friends spoke of heated arguments, jealousy, and emotional strain. But despite the difficulties, Martin insisted that things were under control. The day of his death. On the day of Martin's death, everything seemed normal at first. He had gone to work as usual, and there were no signs that anything was wrong. However, as the day went on and evening came, Martin didn't return home. His family grew increasingly worried, trying to reach him by phone with no luck. They knew something wasn't right. His parents, especially his father, were consumed by fear. Martin had always been reliable, and his sudden disappearance was out of character. The family began searching for him, reaching out to friends and colleagues, trying to piece together where he could have gone. The worst fears were realized when they found Martin's body. He had been discovered in a location. The circumstances surrounding his death were odd and confusing. There were no visible signs of trauma, no blood, no clear injuries that could explain how he died. Authorities were puzzled. Could it have been a heart attack? Or was there something more sinister at play? The investigation begins. The initial investigation into Martin's death was slow to unfold. Authorities weren't sure if it was an accident or if foul play had been involved. Without clear signs of injury, they couldn't rule out natural causes. The investigation took time, and answers seemed elusive. As the investigation continued, detectives began to look into Martin's relationships. His personal life, which had previously been seen as stable, was now under scrutiny. One name repeatedly surfaced during the investigation. A woman Martin had been involved with in the months leading up to his death. Detectives uncovered details of an emotionally charged and turbulent relationship. There were reports of arguments, unresolved tension, and feelings of betrayal. The woman in question had reportedly been in close contact with Martin shortly before his death, leading authorities to believe she may know something crucial. Unraveling the mystery, detectives focused on the phone call that Martin had made the night of his death. The conversation had taken place shortly before he was last seen. Unfortunately, the details of the conversation were unclear, as no one had been able to verify exactly what was said. However, this phone call remained a significant clue in the investigation. Authorities questioned those closest to Martin and the woman he had been involved with. They uncovered a disturbing truth. Martin had been under increasing pressure in his relationship. The woman he had been seeing was reportedly manipulative and controlling, and their relationship had become toxic in the weeks leading up to his death. But even with these revelations, the investigation seemed to hit a dead end. The case grew cold, and the family of Martin Durham was left without closure. The lack of concrete evidence left everyone guessing. Was it an accident? Was it a crime? Or was there another explanation entirely? The family's fight for justice. Despite the challenges, Martin's family refused to give up. His parents, devastated by their loss, fought tirelessly for justice. They believed that the true story of Martin's death had been hidden, and they were determined to uncover it. Over the years, the case grew cold, but the Durham family never lost hope. They continued to push for answers, always holding on to the hope that one day the truth would come to light. Meanwhile, new forensic technologies were making strides in the world of criminal investigations. The breakthrough, new evidence. Finally, after years of uncertainty, new evidence surfaced in the case of Martin Durham. Advances in forensic science led to breakthroughs that reopened the investigation. DNA testing, new techniques, and more accurate analysis revealed key evidence that had been previously overlooked. The new evidence pointed to a startling conclusion. It appeared that Martin had not died from natural causes, and his death was not an accident. The investigation, which had once seemed like it was headed for a dead end, was now back on track. Authorities were able to piece together a more accurate timeline of the events leading up to Martin's death. They discovered that the woman he had been involved with had been involved in a series of violent incidents, and her actions on the night of Martin's death had raised suspicions. The ongoing search for justice. As of now, the true cause of Martin Durham's death remains a mystery. While the evidence points toward a crime, no one has been charged, and the investigation continues. The family of Martin Durham still waits for the day when justice will be served, hoping that the person responsible for his death will be held accountable. The case of Martin Durham serves as a reminder of the fragility of life. No one can predict what tomorrow will bring, and sometimes the truth is hidden just beneath the surface. For those who loved Martin, the search for answers continues, and they refuse to stop fighting for justice. The story of Martin Durham is a tragic reminder that things are not always as they seem. A life filled with promise, potential, and love was abruptly cut short, leaving behind only questions and uncertainty. The search for the truth continues, and those who loved Martin still seek justice. As we reflect on this case, we are reminded that the truth, no matter how elusive, is worth seeking, and that justice must always prevail. Thank you for joining us as we revisit the tragic case of Martin Durham. If you have any thoughts or theories about what happened that fateful night, please feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories.